Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, Booked with Joobie. If you're new here, my name is Julie and I'm a Canadian girly who loves to yap about books. If you're not new, welcome back. In this episode, we are going to talk about all the books that I read in February 2026. We're going to do a quick little wrap up. And this month was really interesting because I had quite a mix of books. I had thriller, romance, magical realism, and even a couple really good audiobooks as well. Now, some of these were amazing books. None of them really let me down. They were maybe mid-reads in my opinion. And then I also accidentally reread a book because this was before I had Goodreads and I started keeping track of it. So this is the reason why I am on Goodreads, which you can follow me on there if you like to. Just search up Julie Davidson and you should be able to find me. But honestly, I can't wait to talk about all these books I read, and let's get to it. Okay, so if you are not new here, you will know that back in 2025, I read the book Wayward by Emilia Hart and instantly fell in love with her writing. So you know I had to go run out and get her next book, which is called The Sirens, and it's by, again, Emilia Hart. Amazing read. This is a 4-star read, maybe even a 5-star if I'm just maybe being a little picky, and beautiful writing. She just tells such great story. This is magical realism meets historical fiction. So if that's your vibe, I think you will really like this. This is also, she writes very female focused and female empowering books. So if that's kind of your vibe too, I think you will really like this. This one follows two timelines. In present day, you have Lucy, who wakes up in the middle of the night, basically throttling this guy's or an ex-lover's throat. And she has no idea how it happened. And she basically flees her university to this coastal town in Australia to her sister. Her sister's a lot older than her, and she's basically trying to escape. When she gets there, her sister's not at her house, and her phone's there, and like all her belongings are there, and now she needs to figure out what is going on with herself and with her sister. And then at the same time, we're also following another 2 sisters that are in the 1800s who were basically forced on this convict ship from Ireland to Australia. And honestly, it's such an interesting read, and especially the dynamic of having 2 different timelines, especially so spaced apart, was very interesting. You really have this like very old 1800s and then present day. The sister bonds of it was amazing. I also have 2 sisters, so I tend to like always love a good sister bond story. The historical fiction of it was really neat, and again, Emilia Hart just has beautiful writing in my opinion. So if you haven't read her books, I definitely recommend checking them out. I think she only has the 2 out, and I'm pretty sure she's writing a 3rd, so you know I will be picking that up. The next book I read was Theo of Golden by Allen Levi, and let me tell you right now, this was a 5-star read, and I knew nothing about it going in. I picked this up for my birthday. I did a little birthday shop, and I spent like a good hour at the local Indigo near me, and I really took my time looking at all sorts of books. I can't remember, I think I picked up 5 or 6 different books. And I remember seeing this one, and I don't know, the cover was intriguing, and it just looked, I don't know, it just looked really sweet, and it was. This is a feel-good, heartwarming, and beautifully written book. It's all about kindness and creativity and the ripple effect of small good deeds. And basically this story follows a man named Theo, and he arrives in this southern town called Golden, and he visits a coffee shop. And at this coffee shop, there are basically 92 self-portraits that are on the wall by a local artist. And he quietly decides to buy all of these portraits and hand deliver them to each of the individuals that the artist did the picture of. And he does it in such a sweet way. He's just a little old man. He's just, you know, he's like, I think he's like 80 or 90 years old. I don't know. He's an older man, and you know, he just writes them a sweet letter and meets them at this fountain in the town. And the story really follows him meeting all these different individuals and learning their life story and learning about them. And it was so sweet. And each individual that we did focus on, they don't show all of them or talk about all of them, but there was a cast of characters and you just fall in love with every single one of them. And Theo is just this wonderful being, especially in today's day where we just have so much hate and we're not as kind as we used to be. And this is just a book about kindness and good deeds. And if you're really looking for something that's uplifting, I highly recommend it. It's also beautifully written. I know I've said that like 3 times because it's true. And don't get it twisted. I also bawled my eyes out at this book, okay? Bawled my eyes out, but like in the best way. So highly recommend picking up Theo Golden. Okay, so of course I had to have Emily Henry in the mix. I love Emily Henry books. Everything she writes is just chef's kiss to me. It's so good. And I read Funny Story by Emily Henry in February. This story was a 4-star for me. And really anything Emily Henry writes is like a 4 or 5 star. And again, when we're doing stars, sometimes I find people take things a little too literally. Like, this is just a contemporary romance. And is it like the most thought-provoking thing I've ever read? No, absolutely not. Did I enjoy this story and the writing and had a good time? Yeah, I did. And that's why it gets a 4 stars. Okay, so Funny Story. What's it about? We're following Daphne, whose fiance leaves her for his childhood best friend, and she ends up stuck in the same town and kicked out of the house that he bought, but they lived together and she furnished, by the way, and ends up moving in with the ex of the woman her fiance left her for. Yep, it's like really messy, which we love. So because these two are, you know, they're heartbroken and sad and upset, and rightfully so, they naturally come up with this plan to basically start dating, and they start posting photos together. And as this goes on, it obviously starts to feel a little less fake over time. It was really fun and light and very character driven. Emily Henry does such a good job with the banter and emotional depth of characters. I especially love the way her characters just kind of like, I don't know, it just gives you that like kick your feet, like tingly, like, ooh, I love it kind of vibes, especially if you love a good romance, which I do. It was a fun book, good palate cleanser, and can't say enough about this book. Okay, the next book I read was The Drowning Woman by Robyn Harding. Now, I'm going to be very transparent with you guys. I liked this book. I did not love it. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that love this book, and I love that for you. I started out really liking the book, if I'm being honest with you. I was really hooked right at the beginning. However, by the middle, I was like, I don't know why we're doing this. And then by the end, I just was like, I don't know. I felt like it didn't wrap up as well as it could have, especially based on how it started. It does give me Frida McFadden vibes, which is not a bad thing because I do love a Frida McFadden. This would be like a good palate cleanser book. It's fast paced and almost like a popcorn read. You're just like, you really like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next, which is nice. And the writing did, again, remind me a little bit of Frida McFadden. This book basically follows Lee. She's this woman who's currently living out of her car. Life has taken, you know, a bad turn for her because it's basically completely fallen apart. She used to be this renowned chef with her own business, and now she lives in her car across the country because she owes money to all these kind of bad people. And one morning she's in her car and she hears this woman doing something in the water, and she ends up saving the woman named Hazel because Hazel is trying to drown herself in the ocean. The two women basically form this strange friendship, and Hazel eventually asks Lee to help her disappear from her abusive marriage. The premise was really interesting and it did have some good twists. The ending was just, again, a little bit of a letdown for me, which made it maybe more of a 3-star for me. But I would recommend picking it up if you're looking for something palate cleanser. This would be good for that. Or you're just looking for something you can read really or binge really quickly, then I think this would definitely be a great book to try. Okay, next book that I read was Winterwood by Shea Ernshaw, and I was quite surprised with how much I enjoyed this book. I know it's technically a YA, so young adult, but you know what? It didn't read like a YA as some of the actual YAs do. And it was a little bit of fantasy, a little magical realism mixed with a little mystery. It was good. I don't know. I really enjoyed this book. Basically, you follow the story of Nora, who comes from this long line of women who are basically rumored to be witches. And she has this deep, mysterious connection with the woods that is surrounding the small town that she lives in. And then this is set during the Winterwood. Basically, this huge snowstorm takes over the whole area, and she ends up finding a boy in this mysterious woods that had gone missing weeks earlier from a nearby boys camp, kind of for boys that got kicked out of all their other schools type of camp. He has no memory of what happened to him, and strange things start happening from there and the woods that's surrounding them. So again, it has a lot of magical elements to it. It's a little fantasy-ish. I would say more magical realism. It has a very eerie atmosphere. I really found the writing to be very descriptive and really created the environment and the setting really well. It really took you into these deep, dark, mysterious woods and was quite eerie at times. I really enjoyed her writing. I definitely would read more by Shea Ernshaw and was pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed this book. I did give it a 3.5 out of 5. It just wasn't a 4 or 5 star for me, but genuinely enjoyed the book so much. Okay, the last physical book I read, I actually swapped this one in for another book. I was supposed to read Us Against You by Frederick Backman, which is the second book in the Beartown series, but I just needed a palate cleansing kind of book because that book is very dense and very heavy, so I just needed a little bit more brain power for that. So I promise you I am reading it, and it will be in the March 2026 wrap up. However, I had to switch it out, so I picked Flawless by Elsie Silver. And if you know me, you know I love a little Elsie. She is probably the spiciest I like to go. If you're looking for a spicy romance. I don't always love spicy romance. It's not my top pick, but if it's done well enough or more little sprinkles of it, I tend to enjoy it a little more that way, versus I know some of the spicy romances are just pure filth, and love that for you if you love that. Not my favorite type of book, but again, I don't know, Elsie does a good job of just kind of combining it, and whereas Emily Henry, just to bring it back, she writes more just a contemporary romance, but not so spicy. So I think that's why I tend to lean towards those books a little bit more, but these are so fun to throw in once in a while. It's cowboys. Who doesn't love a cowboy? Come on. Am I wrong? Anyway, this book is about a professional bull rider who has a reputation, and his reputation, let's just say, is not the greatest, and he needs some serious damage control. So his agent assigns his daughter Summer to basically babysit him for the season and make sure he stays out of trouble. So they're sort of got sunshine and grumpy, and then you also sort of got it's not enemies to lovers, but kind of enemies to lovers. They don't like each other. They're very but there's that tension there, and then close proximity. It's just all the things, all the tropes you want to make an excellent little romance quick read book. It was fun and steamy, very bingeable. I think I read this in like 2 or 3 days. Like, if you're looking for something to just quickly get through, Elsie Silver will never let you down. And this is the first one in the Chestnut Spring series. I will be reading more of hers. I have the rest of the books already, so I definitely will be picking up some of those over the next year, especially when I'm looking for just like a quick bingeable read. Okay, so remember at the very beginning when I told you that I reread a book by accident? Well, it was actually one of my audiobooks, and I guess I re-listened to it by mistake, but it is called In 5 Years by Rebecca Serle. This book I listened to years and years ago. And it was funny because as I was listening to this book, I kept thinking, this is such deja vu. And I'm trying to be like, you know, sometimes when it's a little romance book or contemporary romance, you know, same thing, different plot. But this one was like, there was very specific parts of the book that I was like, I kind of remember this. But I will say, I am glad that I re-listened to it because I forgot a lot of parts of it. And the stuff that I did forget was, you know, this one made me cry. This was upsetting. This was I don't know, nice is not the right word for this book, but it was a very touching story and about a lot of growth. So let me tell you what it's about so you can understand why I felt that way. Basically, we're following a woman who wakes up one night and experiences this vivid vision of her life 5 years in the future, including being with a completely different guy than the one that she's currently engaged to. Now, the story starts out with her basically getting engaged to this guy that she's got a plan. She's a numbers girl. We're going to do this, and she's got a whole plan. Well, 5 years later, none of that has happened, but she's still with this guy, and her best friend is now dating the man that she had this vivid vision about. So a lot goes on, and what you think is a romance story is actually not. It's actually more about friendship and sisterhood, and about these two women who, by all odds, wouldn't necessarily or shouldn't necessarily be best friends, but have been best friends their entire lives, and how their lives basically take these different paths. Now, I will give you a trigger warning. This book does deal with serious illness, and it can be quite sad sometimes. So keep that in mind. If that's not really your vibe or you can't handle that type of book right now, then maybe not for you. But this one was really enjoyable, and I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Okay, the last audiobook that I listened to in February was Next of Kin by Abdullah. This book, I'm going to give you a huge trigger warning on because I did not have one, and I went in I just thought it was like a thriller mystery, which it sort of is, but it starts out right at the beginning of the book with the death of a child. So just a trigger warning for that, because it was quite graphic and you know what's going to happen. And I was listening to this being like, oh my God, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, stop. Like, anyway. So basically, this follows the story of a woman named Layla and her sister Yasmin. They are about 8 years apart, I think, in age, and Layla's the older sister. And basically, Layla accidentally leaves her nephew in the car on the hottest day of the year, and this is in the UK. And it basically, this story follows the high-profile court case of why this happened, and the sisterhood of the two. And there's a lot of twists and turns throughout this that you just like are not expecting. It's a very tense courtroom drama, and as the story starts to unfold, you start to realize like there's actually more than it was. Not that it wasn't an accident, but there's more to the story than meets the eye. And I had a very, very good time listening to the audiobook. I was very captivated by the narration, by the story. I really just had I don't want to say great time because the story is pretty dark, but I really enjoyed myself, and I enjoyed the story and the courtroom drama of it, and just like all the little twists and turns that unfolded. So definitely recommend this one, and it was a 4-star for me. So overall, February was an awesome reading month for me. I had 1 5-star, a few solid 4 stars, and a couple that were, mid. They were 3.5. So pretty good reading month overall. If you have read any of these books, let me know in the comments because I'd love to hear your thoughts on them. Also let me know what your favorite book that you're currently reading is. I would love to know what your favorite current read is because I'm always looking to add more to my TBR. And as always, I love you all so, so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It goes such a long way for me. And if you want to see me anywhere else, I'm also on Instagram and TikTok, BookedwithJoobie. And I love you all and happy reading. Bye.